When I start shooting, all y'all gonna clear out.
The situation around Tekken 8 being review bombed for one, the $5 stage, and then two, banning the Chinese player has been talked to death. So I'll make this brief. Harada responds to the Bandai Namco Esports post and says, "We will make every effort to increase the number of participating countries in the future. There are visas and other issues, but we aim to expand as much as possible." So this is Harada going above and beyond, in my opinion. He's talking about, one, allowing people to compete. There was one person, Haigem, the Russian player, who was talking about, let us compete as a neutral athlete, something that I was suggesting, we see Olympics do and whatnot. So that's one thing. But then when I say going above and beyond, he's also talking about visa issues. And this is something that we know not only stops Pakistan, but the Philippines, Thailand. There's many countries, not just Pakistan, who are held back a lot by visa issues. So if Harada can, work some magic there and get a lot of people to overcome that hurdle, that will be a huge W. Someone says, well, it depends on where the event is. With time players cannot go to the US, high visa rejection, or a huge visa interview time, but they can go to EU or Asia. Harada says, of course we can't solve all problems, but we will do what we can, and that's all that we ask, is that they help out where they can, and hopefully things can get better. Now this shows that backlash and bullying the developers into doing the right thing has great outcomes. And this is something that I have to say from time to time, because I always see a bunch of players say, you guys are getting upset for no reason, you guys aren't going to do this, you guys can't do that, and over and over and over again, we are shown that when we get upset about something, the developers listen. From taking down mods, we got them to stop. From banning players from the event, we got them to undo that, right? So getting upset, at least for it pertaining to Tekken, works, and I think players should continue to do that. Now, when you talk about getting upset and continuing to be upset, this is something that I think the average player doesn't really care that much about, but like content creators and pro players care a lot about this. And it's the topic of the replay channels. This is something that's done across, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken, everywhere. People will access your replays and then put those matches on YouTube. A lot of people created alternate accounts or hidden accounts to play and not have their footage siphoned and put on YouTube. Some people want to hide their footage because they're tournament players, right? Their livelihoods depend on them, going to a tournament and offering their best. But if that's put on the internet for everyone to see, it makes it that much harder for them to show up to the tournament and do work, right? This person says, why even bother being a Tekken YouTuber when replay channels can just upload your sets right after you play anyways? We need to make replays private, especially if it's in a private lobby. Now, I understand that developers want players to access other people's replays, but I do think there should be some kind of restrictions on it, because you literally have these random accounts stealing content creators' content and uploading it before they can even do it. They could be sitting there watching a content creator stream, watch them fight another streamer and be like, oh, that was a good match, we're going to upload that right now. The content creator is still going to be streaming for another 2 hours, but whoever that replay channel is uploading it now. So I think the developers should look at something like this and say, there should be a on-off switch to your replays. Talking about the final character, we're all wondering when and where it will be. If we don't hear any information for the month of October, November, we're bound to hear something at least. For December, what we can look forward to is the Tekken World Tour 2024 Global Finals. It will take place in December on the 5th to the 8th, and this will include everything from the globals to the regionals to the last chance qualifiers and the final. This will be the true end to season 1, and this is when we will see something magnificent happen for the game. Season 2, you could talk about the game needing that second wave, that second generational boost. I'm interested to see what they do, because they kind of been holding themselves back in a lot of ways from truly balancing this game, and I wonder how much will they really do. They had a long year to really take in all of the players, criticisms and critiques, and a lot of people were saying, you guys hold on, this game will be good in a year, 2 years. Well, that time is quickly coming, and the developers can't turn it around with one update. A lot of people would argue they did that multiple times in Tekken 7, right? Also, take this screenshot as well, where it says the final character year 1 pass will be out by December the 31st. And like I said, said, that will be the true end of season 1, and then we could really see what this game is made of. Now, something else that's happening right now in the Tekken community, and I think this is so fascinating, but there is a kind of a argument going on right now. Dragon Ball Z Sparking came out just a second ago, and that game has on Steam over 100,000 concurrent players. There is this branching argument that's taking place of whether or not this is a fighting game. It all started with Dragon Ball Z players saying that Dragon Ball Z is the first fighting game to do this and the best fighting game to do that, and that's when the Street Fighter and Tekken players showed up and was like, hold on a second, who even said this was a fighting game? And that's kind of where the things got heated, right? I always thought the topic of saying which games are and are not fighting games was so interesting, because fighting games are so small, they're so niche. Some of these fighting games they struggle to survive, and the way that they do survive is by sticking together. Harada said when one fighting game succeeds, they all succeed. Take Street Fighter 4 as an example. That game is credited with like resurrecting the whole genre in a sense. Like, they all rise together. And the fact that the players who play these games try to gatekeep which games can be a part is so fascinating to me. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I had to take a guess as to why Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear, etc. excludes games like Smash, Brawlhalla, Dragon Ball from being a real fighting game, if I had to take a guess as to why they do that, I think, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think that those players are afraid of another game being the biggest. I see Tekken players, for no reason at all, being so upset about the release of Dragon Ball Z Fighters. Like, they hate this game, they despise it for no reason. Like, what did this game do to you? People were upset with it. When you look at the Steam charts and just compare the numbers, Street Fighter, pretty decent, 11, 28, 70. Tekken 8, 5, 8, 49. Mortal Kombat, 800? Yikes. 1,000 and then 38,000. What is that? That is absolute trash. Holy smokes. Guilty Gear, 1,000, 2,000, 31. And then you have the non-fighting games according to the FGC. Brawlhalla, 5,000, 14,000, 34,000. That's pretty good in my opinion. And then Dragon Ball, we don't even need to talk about that, right? I really like what Mike Hollow said, so I'm just going to read this tweet exactly as it is. It's not a traditional fighting game, just like Mario Kart isn't a racing simulator like Gran Turismo or Formula 1, but it is a racing game. Sparking Zero is a fighting game. Please stop the nonsense. There's characters on the screen, a timer, a stage, 2 health bars, and a goal of punching, kicking, managing meter, being evasive, countering and parrying attacks, and blasting your opponents. No diddy, until you're the last one standing. If this isn't a fighting game, please tell me what is. If someone in the comment section can really explain to me why fighting game players are so restricted on which games are allowed to be called a fighting game, I would love to know, because it is something that eluded me for the longest. I looked at Tekken players and Street Fighter players trying to push out Smash, and I would scratch my head like, why is that? The Smash player base is massive. If you look at their content, if you look at their numbers, it's way bigger than Tekken 8 and Street Fighter. So why would you not want them to be in? I don't know. I know there's this whole joke about those guys being toxic and blah 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 blah, but I mean, there's a lot of things that goes on in Tekken, Street Fighter, etc. that is just as bad in my opinion.